Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here, and I spent a lot of time in the review build working out what I think is the best way to level up in Season 6, and this guide is going to be all about that. Now, if you're the type of person that wants to take it slow, enjoy the campaign, just really experience everything in the expansion, please do. I think that the campaign is a lot of fun, is very enjoyable. I enjoyed all the cutscenes and all the stuff. My first time through, I watched everything and I just took my time. I talked to all the NPCs, all of the side stuff. It was great. It took me about, I think, 10 hours or so to do everything. But like I said, I went really, really slow. I also took breaks and stuff like that. But this is the way that I'm going to recommend for people to get through the campaign. If you want to go super duper fast, I managed to get through the campaign in about 2 hours, just absolutely blasting. And this should give you a nice, solid experience as well. So this is going to be specifically for Spiritborn, but you can pretty much follow this with any particular class. For Spiritborn, I'm going to recommend this build guide right here. Pretty much you don't need any specific legendaries or uniques. Absolutely just blast through. It's super duper easy, super duper fast, and highly recommend this. And then for the other classes, these are kind of the season journey aspects you can potentially look at. However, we're not really going to do the season journey all that much as we're leveling up, simply because the campaign gives us so much experience. And it's kind of nice to save some of these caches for level 60. We could potentially get some ancestral gear. So starting off, I'm going to recommend you start off on seasonal hard with Spiritborn. And the very first thing I recommend doing is just claiming your renown for XP and gold, and then going on to your, and so the reason you actually want to do this right away as opposed to waiting is because this no longer scales with your level. It's just flat values. And so there's no reason to wait. Now in your character sheet, open up the wardrobe and activate a pet. If you don't have a pet, there's a quest to do that right outside of the inn in Kyovashad. And then next thing I recommend doing is go to Helltide from like level 1 through 15. You don't have to go and do this. In Helltide should take you about 18 to 20 minutes or so if you're going just chaining events. And I just think it's just the easier way to kind of progress through, because then once you're done with this, you're going to lower the difficulty down to normal and go and do your class quest. Now, if you don't want to go and do this way you want to do the campaign right away, I think it takes you about maybe 30 minutes or so to get to 15 through the campaign, which is totally fine as well. I just think that the class power that you get, it helps out with leveling quite a bit. Also, the campaign quests do scale their reward based off of your current level. And so by front loading 15 levels in the front end, you're going to end up a couple of levels higher by the end of the campaign. And doing like 15 quick levels in the front end is a lot better than, I think, spending more time trying to go from the post-campaign level up to level 60. So I recommend going and doing the class quest, by the way, on normal, if you didn't miss that. If you missed that. The reason for that is because it's kind of long, and if you end up having to lower the difficulty, because the final boss can be a little bit difficult, then you have to go through a lot of extra talky stuff in the dungeon, which is kind of a pain in the butt. You're not really going to get a lot of experience during this quest. And so slowing yourself down by being on hard is kind of bad. Now, after you finish that up, you're going to reset the difficulty back up to hard and then select the Eagle Primary Spirit Hall. I think the Eagle Primary Spirit Hall is OP busted. It makes it so that every time you evade, you do 1,000 weapon damage and apply vulnerable, which seems pretty strong. And so I think any build that's not recommending that is probably making a mistake in terms of power and speed early on. But, you guys do whatever you want to do. And then from this point, you're just going to start the campaign. You're going to receive a ton of experience. And I mean, an actual ton of experience from campaign quests. So you don't really need to worry about doing the seasonal quest line or going and getting like elixirs or opals and stuff that's active right now this season. You do want to activate an elixir whenever you find one, and eventually you probably want to keep them rolling for the XP bonus. But these only give you an XP bonus to kills and not really to the quest experience. And so it's not as big of a deal as it will be once you're through the campaign. And when I say you get a lot of experience, I mean, there's a couple of times where you like level up leave the room, talk to somebody else, and level up a second time. I think there's even one time you level up like 3 times back to back to back. And the quests are just absolutely monstrous amounts of experience. It's a lot of fun. So go enjoy that. Now, as you go through the campaign, you still want to kill elites and generally progress quickly from quest to quest. I don't really recommend doing like events on the side. You can do a couple of events if you want, but like I wouldn't really go and do like dungeons or even like pop back into Helltide or even going and doing like the Realmwalker at all. I just don't really think it's worth it at this point. Now, in the campaign, you are going to come close to the Nahantu northeastern stronghold, which is called Kichuk, several times. And that's up here in the top right corner. Now, I recommend that you just go and do the stronghold kind of while you're in the area. It's not really going to divert you all that much. And also it is going to be mandatory for you to clear this later in the game. And so you might as well do it now because the stronghold XP kind of tapers off, I believe, after level 35. And so it's better just to do it earlier. We get more experience. You can also go and do the Temple of Rot stronghold while you're at it. It's a pretty quick stronghold. And once again, it's going to give you a nice little chunk of XP. And that one's also going to be mandatory as well. Now, you do want to make sure that you claim and use your cinders from the battle pass. You just press U and like the little battle pass thing across the bottom. And little cinders allow you to put points, typically like over on the left side, into a couple of different options. And typically the leftmost option is bonus experience from kills, which, you know, just helps you progress faster and doesn't really take that much time to activate that. Now, once you finish the campaign, you should be somewhere between level 46 and 55, depending on how much you kill and how much side stuff you do. And yeah, now you can tell when you finish the campaign because the main quest will now be Deeds of a Champion. And this is kind of like the quest line that's going to take you from doing the campaign to pushing you into Endgame. It's the thing to help newer players figure out what are all the things that I can do in Diablo 4 now that the story is done. And so at level 50, you also really going to notice that gear power starts to go up tremendously. And the reason for this is because all of the old characters that were level 100 had their levels lowered down from level 100 to level 50, and all of their gears squished down to level 50 gear. And so anything that starts dropping at level 50 is designed to be better than the gear that those guys have. And so the level 50 plus gear just like really ramps up rather quickly. And you're probably going to replace your weapon like 2 to 5 times between level 50 and level 60. So I really wouldn't recommend like over investing in a weapon until it's at least 750 item power, which I don't think starts to drop until level 60. Also, you note that ancestral items won't drop at all until Torment 1, so don't really worry about that as well. Now, once you start the Deeds of the Champion, you're going to go to Zarbinzet and go do the quest for the seasonal content. The quest, at least on the review build, was pretty much, hey, what's up? Yeah, there's this Realmwalker thing. Can you go kill it for me? Sure. Ta-da! Now you can go. Now, like, Realmwalker is kind of like available, but you don't even need to do this quest to go and kill the Realmwalker at all. Like, you can just do it from level 1 if you really wanted to. But yeah, the way that Realmwalker works is that every 15 minutes, a region will announce that it has an incoming Realmwalker, and there will be a 5-minute timer on the Realmwalker themselves, which is like visible on the overall map. And then 5 minutes after the thing has been marked, the Realmwalker will get up and start to walk around, and he'll like walk to a specific spot. And once you kill him, he'll open up a portal, and that portal will take you into a special dungeon. And then inside that dungeon is another dungeon. I know, dungeons and dungeons. And you'll be able to decide what type of loot you want from the sub dungeon by spending a little bit of resources. And depending on which dungeon you pick is going to determine which opal you get. So this one, for example, is only available at Torment 1. This makes it so that you additionally drop Artificer Stones and boss summoning items and Infernal Compasses. Now, another thing to note is that I don't think you get any seasonal rep unless you have an opal active. So keeping these rolling for the reputation is very nice, but also because these give 15% multiplicative XP that stacks with elixirs also helps as well. So from this point, you pretty much want to keep your opals rolling even after you hit level 60, like getting up to 300 Paragon is going to take quite a while. So you want to try to keep these rolling. They give you rep, they give you items, they give you XP. It's just really, really great. The reason we don't want to use these up until this point is because pretty much in the campaign, like I guess you could go farm like 4 or 6 of these. You get 2 per Realmwalker, by the way. But most of your experience anyway is just coming from doing the campaign. And these take, if you walk with the Realmwalker, take at least like 5 to 10 minutes per one. So doing this like 3-4 times is already like a significant portion of the time it would take you to run the campaign anyways. And so these really just aren't worth it until this point. So now that we've gone and unlocked the Realmwalker, we're going to try to keep an eye on the season journey. These can start to provide big loot. I think one of the things is actually to go and kill a Realmwalker. So you might have the option to claim the first one now. I would generally probably recommend at this point waiting until you hit level 60, maybe even Torment 1, if you can clear up to that point before claiming the season journey, simply because I think that stuff can come out as ancestral if you're claiming it at that point. And so it's just a little bit better than getting like level 50-ish gear they're just going to replace anyways. You're pretty much close to the finish line of gear progression. So in terms of like what can drop for you. And so waiting a little bit is going to help you out quite a bit. Now you're going to continue the main quest line. The very first thing that you're going to do for Deeds of the Champion is go and unlock all the mercenaries. And that is just going to give you the option to use whoever you want at this point. Probably using Raher since you unlocked him. However, I do like Variana quite a bit. She does give you movement speed, but Raher is great as well because she can give you all res, which is going to be very useful as you go up the torment levels. So really use whoever you want. I do also recommend leveling up Aldkin kind of early because he does give you some additional benefits for the shop in there. You can get resource aspects from the shop for the mercenaries once you level them up to, I think, 6. And then that's just going to be pretty good as well. So either have him as a secondary mercenary or as your primary, at least for a little bit. Now, after you unlock all the mercenaries, the next quest is going to be going and doing 10 whispers in Nahantu. Make sure you're actually on this step before you start doing whispers in Nahantu. And I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, I'm just going to go Helltide, real easy, double dip. And that's very good. However, the next step after the whispers is going to require you to open 5 chests in Helltide. So try to avoid opening chests in Helltide until you're on to the Helltide step if you're going to do whispers in Helltide. It's going to be a little bit tight with the timing, especially if Helltide's going to reset anyways. But you're going to need to do 5 chests in Helltide as the next step and kill the Blood Maiden. So just kind of keep that in mind. After that point, it's going to give you do the side quest Tenets of Depravity, Sacraments of the Faithless. This quest starts in Karast right here. And this quest, if you're not in Karast, like standing nearby, can be kind of a little bit hard to find. And this quest does take quite a bit of time. It is definitely one of the longer side quests in the game. It is pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. Has a lot of like flavor to it as well, but it does take quite a bit of time. This is also going to ask you to go and do that stronghold that I mentioned earlier, and then go do 3 dungeons in Nahantu. So pretty much you may have avoided doing dungeons to this point, unless maybe you really wanted an aspect or something. So this is a good time to go and do dungeons in Nahantu, and you just pick anyone you want. Now notice that Nahantu dungeons tend to be a little bit longer than the other ones. They don't tend to have any sort of like pick up the statue, find the key mechanics. Typically they're like run through the thing, but there's gonna be a lot of little side objectives inside these dungeons where you can like flip 3 switches and a door will open that'll have a big loot chest in it. And this is actually a pretty good thing to do. It's extra little bonus rewards like that do make the Nahantu dungeons a little bit more juicy in terms of rewards. Now from this point, you're pretty much going to be done with the Deeds of the Champion. You will have a quest chain to go and do like some extra stuff for the Undercity you probably want to complete at this time. Basically, Undercity has 3 wings to it, and right off the bat, you only have access to the first wing. And then finishing out the quest chain, I believe, unlocks the full Undercity for you and makes it so that you can drop tributes, which are things that help you do a little bit more target farming in Undercity. So it's pretty good to go and do that quest chain. There's also an optional quest line for an Infernal Hordes. I'm fairly sure that you can drop compasses without doing this quest, but I wouldn't risk it, so go and do your Infernal Hordes quest line as well. And from this point, you're pretty much focusing 100% on getting up to level 60. That is like your goal, because you need to get to level 60 to finish your Deeds of the Champion and to also open the pit, which is the thing that like limits your access of difficulties from this point forward. So as soon as you hit level 60, make sure your gear is all polished up, you got the right aspects and stuff. Go into the pit, which is accessed through Saragar, which is the main city of Skazglen. And then if you clear the level 20, you should be able to go finish up your Deeds of the Champion and level the difficulty up to Torment 1. And from this point, you can pretty much drop the best loot in the game anywhere, anytime from this point, because you can drop ancestral gear. Ancestrals are always going to be marked with a star because they always have a greater affix. They're going to have higher rolls on all their affixes, and they're just, better. They can even get better aspects as well. So you want to get as many of these as possible, but note that ancestrals also tend to be more expensive to modify. And so I would probably recommend holding off on heavily crafting any items, especially armor, until you find a weapon that is pretty decent. You're probably gonna look for like main stat, life, and a damage roll that you can slap your aspect on and start tempering and stuff. Because if you like waste all your materials on armor or jewelry, then you're probably gonna have a hard time with weapon, and weapon's gonna give you the most damage from weapon damage, basically. So yeah, now you just continue to farm power. Pit can give you quite a bit of power as well, because you can level up your glyphs to level 15. You don't have to keep accelerating the level of the pit up. You can instead just, keep farming at level 20 or a little bit higher if you want, and keep leveling those glyphs up to 15 so they take up more area on your Paragon board, and just start spending those Paragon points, getting them invested out there. There's a lot of good stuff. Now, you can also go do endgame ladder bosses. This is a good way to get uniques. These always drop 2 uniques every single time you kill them now. That does go up with the torment level, so 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. And now if you need to know where the uniques are you're looking for, you can click this unique targets tab down below, and this will show you all of the uniques for your class. Now, note that things like the Rod of Kepaleke or Sepazantek, these both come off of Duriel and Andariel, which is kind of like the higher level or higher tier bosses, which can be a little bit more difficult, but I think that in terms of difficulty of the boss fight, it should be pretty fine, but you might need to farm some of these lower bosses in order to unlock the higher ones. And then you can just continue to progress the pit for your unlocking more torment levels as you go up to torment 2, 3, 4. Your XP bonuses and loot stuff will get better, but your armor and resistances will get worse. So you kind of want to keep an eye on that. Oh, I didn't mention that, but in Torment 1, you want to notice that your armor and resistances both got lowered. You want to adjust your gear as needed. Once again, Raher can give you 15% all res. He's pretty good about that if you have him out as your main mercenary. You can also go and kill Uber Lilith at Torment 1 for a Resplendent Spark. You can also complete the seasonal rep grind for Resplendent Sparks, and 2 sparks will give you a random or mythic unique of whatever your class can use. So it could literally be anything, but if you use 2 sparks and specific runes that are probably going to be hard to find, you can craft a specific mythic unique for your build. And from that point, you're just kind of playing an ARPG. You're leveling up, you're grinding up, trying to push to whatever your goals are, whether they be Torment 4, clearing all the content, or Pit 100, 150, just going crazy. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what build you guys are planning to play. Like I said, this Eagle build that I put the link up to is absolutely insane, and highly recommend it. But yeah, very excited. Hope you guys have fun. I'm going to be doing my very first cosplay for like a season character launch thing on the 7th here, so come by the stream and hang out. We'll see you again soon. Later.